After 12 years together and 4 years of marriage, my husband wants to try polyamory after falling for someone else. Hi, I've been married to my husband for 4 years, and we've been together for 12. After a lot of financial struggles, we bought a house, and now we are planning to have kids. A few months ago, my husband felt sick and had to stay home for a while. He decided to pick up an online game and started having weekly sessions with a group of players. Among them is a girl 30 years old, I think. Long story short, he fell in love with her. He broke down crying a month ago and admitted it. He told me it built up gradually, and he didn't understand how he felt until it was too late. They started texting privately after meeting online and eventually had one-on-one calls. At some point, he said she told him she was in love with him, and he realized it was mutual. He said he told her it was impossible, but he loved her too. They tried to be just friends, but they couldn't resist, and continued to show affection for each other. He showed me the texts, but also ventured into sexting. She asked if she could meet him face to face, but he refused. He told me all of this, apologized over and over again, and said he couldn't control himself. While he loved us both, I was still very upset and slept at a friend's house that night to gather my thoughts. I decided to forgive him because he clearly felt guilt and wanted to work it out. I told him that while I was deeply hurt, I still appreciated him coming forward and being honest about what happened. We got into long conversations about how we were feeling in our relationship. I accepted that he could love someone else, but I told him I didn't like how he handled it. He agreed. Then, yesterday, he asked if I would be comfortable opening up the marriage to polyamory. He said he still wanted to live with me and have kids, but he couldn't erase nor ignore the feelings he had for her. He said he wanted to do it right and let us both see other people with clear boundaries, communication, and still be present for one another. To be honest, it made me very uncomfortable at first. We have several friends who are polyamorous, and I know more or less how it works, but I never really thought about getting into it myself. I am not against it. It just never crossed my mind before. I'm trying to think it through, but it's a lot to take in. Sorry if my writing is messy, but it's hard to focus. I guess it's too early to decide, and we have a lot more to discuss beforehand. Still, could you give me your opinions on this? Thanks a lot. Top comments. Commenter 1. I'd be divorcing so fast. He cheated, and now he wants to keep cheating by calling it polyamory. Lol. Come on. Do not have kids with this man for the love of God. And if you have any self-respect, you will be serving him divorce papers as soon as possible. Sorry, but your husband is a cheating ass. Swamp cats. You got married under the assumption you would remain monogamous. He is trying to fundamentally change the nature of your relationship. If I were you, I would drop any attempts at conceiving and figure out your next steps. Personally, I would not stay with someone who desired an open relationship. You need to decide if it's something you're willing to entertain or not. Update 1. First off, sorry I didn't reply to all your comments. I am very thankful for them. They helped me realize hard but fair truths about the whole situation. I waited for a bit to think about it all and had multiple long discussions with my husband. I wanted to confront him before making a final decision. To answer some of your questions, the other girl wanted to meet him, but they never did, partly because my husband refused, but honestly mostly because she lives too far away. I still got checked for STDs though, and I'm clean, yay. As for our polyamory friends, they were apparently the ones who suggested he go down the polyamory road. I stopped talking to them for now. I'll deal with the bigger problem first. I told him his actions hurt me deeply, and that while I appreciated him admitting his affair, it was still infidelity. I told him what you guys said, that turning it into polyamory was merely green-lighting the affair after the fact. Polyamory should be built on mutual trust and communication, which he already broke. I didn't feel respected. It destroyed him. He said he already knew deep down, but didn't want to admit it neither to me nor to himself. We both screamed and cried a lot. He finally admitted he wanted to open the marriage for selfish reasons. He is very sorry, cut off contact with the other girl, let me fully access his computer and phone, and now wants to go to counseling to repair our relationship and marriage. He has shown me a lot of affection and attention since then, although he admits it's sometimes out of guilt and not just pure love. Now, I want to make it work too, but am I just falling for a sunk cost fallacy? I don't know. Our first session is in 2 months, the earliest we could get, and every day I change my mind. Literally, yesterday, I wanted to leave him, while today I think it's worth giving it a try because we've known each other for so long, we understand each other on a very deep level, share a lot of interests, and have already built so much together. He was there for me during the hard parts of my life. He's taken responsibility for his actions and is really trying. Plus, if I leave him, I'd have to start my life nearly from scratch, find a new place to live, go back into dating for the first time in 12 years. I don't want to lose everything. It sounds very hard and scary. Am I just too old for this? But at the same time, that's a form of denial, isn't it? It doesn't matter if those years were good. It's not going to be the same, even if he gains my trust back. Even if I forgive him, I'll never forget. I think he's genuinely remorseful, but isn't it too late for that? I'm too empathetic. Him being present now doesn't erase what was done. Do I want to stay? Not because I still believe in this relationship. Is it the easy choice? Some kind of codependency. I have no idea. I can picture both paths clearly, and it's tearing me apart. I'm lost, maybe even more than I was when I wrote my previous post. I've lost sleep. I booked an appointment with a psychologist for me alone to help with this whole thing. I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling. I know I'm the only one who can decide what's okay and comfortable for me or not. It's ultimately my choice, and my choice only. But the emotional hell I'm going through just makes thinking about that choice very hard and paralyzing. I'll go to both therapies and try to see what to do from here. I'll try to update, but it's probably going to take a while. I'm sorry. I want to thank you again for your support, and I'm sending you all a lot of love. Update 2. We are divorcing. Hooray. So my soon-to-be ex-husband had an emotional affair online and tried to make me greenlight it by asking for an open marriage where we'd be allowed to have side adventures. I refused, and his affair partner dumped him. He begged me to try to reconcile with him, to which I agreed, but I was actually preparing my exit. We both went to individual therapy, still am. We separated temporarily 3 times, but every time I came back, it went terribly. He was desperate, trying to cross my boundaries, love bombing me, playing the victim, asking to touch me even though I had established I didn't want to, threatening to kill himself. I could go on, but this made me finally realize, with my therapist's help, a lot of self-reflection, and my exchanges here on Reddit, that I was in an abusive relationship. This is actually the most important part of this update. Please look up definitions and examples of abuse. I had no idea that what my husband had been doing all these years, even before the affair, counted as such. In his case, it was psychological abuse, manipulation, gaslighting, guilt tripping, blame shifting, emotional blackmail, nothing aggressive or mean, but still harmful. This turned me into a very submissive partner over the years, always catering to his needs while erasing my own. It happened suddenly and gradually, and I was too naive to see it for what it was. His emotional affair and open marriage proposal were the natural continuation of that. Of course, the more I tried to get away from him, the more manipulative he got. Now that I was aware of it, I knew what he was doing, but fighting years of conditioning, even if you recognize it and succeed, is exhausting and disarming. Earlier today, I brought a friend home to assist me. We sat down, the three of us, and I told my husband we were over. I handed him the divorce papers. It might sound dumb, but it's genuinely one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I was terrified, but he agreed. He repeatedly asked me if I was sure, reminded me of the family we were planning to have, and of our best memories together. Was it all for nothing? Apparently, yes. He was heartbroken, clearly mad and frustrated, but still he agreed. He signed the papers and went back to his parents for now. We still have to go through the whole procedure, separate our assets, decide what to do with the house, etc. He still wants us to go to marriage counseling, but right now I feel free for the first time in months. The last hours have been a mix of tears, celebration, and restful sleep. I have to thank you all again because my first Reddit post was the wake-up call I needed to get here. Better late than never. Thank you so much. Sending you all a lot of love. Relevant comments. Fine 735. He reminded me of the family we were planning to have and of our best memories together. Was it all for nothing? Apparently, yes. After cheating on his partner, he sounds like an insufferable person. Honestly, congrats on your freedom. I know, right? The hypocrisy, the nerve of this man. The worst part is that he appears very charming to everyone who knows him, myself included. A lot of people in our circle who are aware of what he did still think he's a good person who just lost himself for a while. I guess it's hard to accept that the ones we love can be terrible people too. Anon 470. You've been through a long, hard journey, and it will take a while yet. But you are investing in yourself, your health, and happiness. Good for you. Continue self-care and practice safety and security. Slow down and heal so that you will be strong and ready to seek and recognize true love. Wishing you a joyous future. You can do this. Thank you, I'll do my best. I like to think the hardest part is behind me, but this story has taught me to expect the worst. Whatever happens from now on, it's me first. I deserve love and happiness, and I'll fight for it. Update: it's been a while since I last posted, and I've been putting off writing this update for a number of reasons. The journey has been exhausting, emotional, and at times felt like I was caught in a constant loop of second-guessing fear and self-doubt. But at the same time, it's been transformative. So here I am trying to put it all into words, even though it still feels overwhelming at times. When I signed those divorce papers, I honestly thought I would feel a rush of relief. In the back of my mind, I knew I was doing the right thing for myself, that this was the path forward, but emotionally, it felt like I was ripping out a part of my heart. Saying goodbye to someone you've shared your life with, your first love, your best friend, feels like an unnatural and painful thing. Even though I had been hurt in ways that I couldn't ignore, even though I knew I had to leave, there were still moments of doubt, confusion, and guilt. In the weeks following, things were complicated. The moment I thought I had control, I would feel this creeping sense of vulnerability that I couldn't shake. It was like I was in a constant state of war with myself. On one hand, I was relieved that I wasn't living in a toxic relationship anymore, that I had taken control of my own future. But on the other hand, I couldn't ignore the lingering questions. Did I make the right choice? Was there still a chance to rebuild this? Could we really have made it work if I had given it more time? I started therapy not long after everything went down. The first few sessions were a blur as I tried to process what had happened and understand how I got to this point. I still felt like I was living in a fog. My therapist was patient, letting me work through the emotions at my own pace. I started to realize just how much emotional manipulation I had been subjected to over the years. I thought I knew what was happening in our marriage, but looking back, I was so blinded by the desire to make it work that I had ignored red flags and dismissed my own needs. I was constantly second-guessing myself, apologizing for things that weren't my fault, and doing everything I could to make him happy, even if it came at the cost of my own well-being. I had spent so much of my life trying to be the perfect wife. I took pride in being his support system. But when everything fell apart, I realized that I had neglected my own needs. The whole good wife narrative I had clung to for so long was a double-edged sword. Yes, I loved him deeply, but I had lost myself in the process. I still remember the day I decided to make the break from him fully. I had moved into my own apartment, something I never thought I would have to do, but it was necessary. I needed space to breathe, to rediscover who I was without the constant pressure of trying to keep up with his expectations. At first, I felt like a weight had been lifted. I didn't have to worry about his moods or whether I was doing enough for him. But then, when the loneliness started to settle in, was I doing the right thing? Was I being selfish? Maybe I could have tried harder. But then I remembered how much he had taken from me over the years. I remembered the gaslighting, the manipulation, and the emotional blackmail. I remembered the times he had used my love for him against me, twisting it into something toxic. He had apologized for his affair, begged me to forgive him, but I knew deep down that he wasn't really sorry for the right reasons. He was sorry that he had been caught, sorry that I was now onto his games. He tried to keep in contact with me after the divorce papers were signed. Text messages, voicemails, phone calls, he kept pushing and pushing. He even showed up at my new place a few times. One day, he tried to make me feel guilty for moving on, sending me a long message about how worried he was about my mental health. He told me I needed antidepressants and that I was punishing him by going through with the divorce. It was like he couldn't accept that it was over. Every time I saw a message from him, my heart would race. Part of me wanted to respond, to give him another chance to fix things. But that part of me was the same part that had kept me in the relationship for so long, afraid of being alone, afraid of facing the consequences of my choices. The worst moment came when he showed up at my new place uninvited. I had told him that I needed space, but he came anyway. He claimed that he just wanted to talk and see how I was doing. When I opened the door, he immediately started with the guilt tripping. He said that he couldn't believe I was throwing everything away, that our relationship meant nothing to me. And then, before I could even react, he tried to hug me. It felt wrong. I told him no, I screamed no, but he ignored me, and that's when the panic attack hit. I felt trapped, like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't get away from him fast enough. I called the paramedics, who arrived shortly after. They could see how panicked I was, and thankfully, they helped me get him to leave. But even then, he kept texting, calling, saying that he was worried about me. It was like I was still under his control, even when we weren't together anymore. I had to tell my friends, my colleagues, and even my neighbors that I was fine. I hated how my life was being broadcasted in the name of concern. My lawyer filed for a restraining order, but it was rejected. Apparently, they needed more concrete proof of a threat. I had no idea how much worse things could get. It felt like I was fighting for my own sanity. I moved into a new apartment, one where I could have some semblance of peace. The transition hasn't been easy, but I'm starting to rebuild. I'm getting the help I need. I'm cutting off contact with him, and I'm learning to set boundaries. Every day, I remind myself that I made the right decision. It's painful, it's hard, but it's also necessary. My therapist keeps telling me that healing will take time, and I'm trying to be patient with myself. I still have nightmares, stress, and moments where I question if I did the right thing. But when I take a step back and think about it logically, I know I had no other choice. I deserve better than what he gave me. I wish I could say that I'm fully healed, that everything is fine, but I'm not there yet. I don't think I'll ever be completely the same person I was before all of this. But I do know one thing: I am learning to live for myself now, to put my own happiness first. And that's a huge step. I want to thank everyone here. It's been a long, hard journey, but I'm not looking back anymore. Relevant comments. Lily Rose, I am so proud of you for choosing yourself. It's hard, so hard, but you are doing it. You are finding your strength again. Sending you all my love. Thank you so much, Lily. Your words mean a lot to me. I'm starting to feel stronger, but I know it's going to take time. I'm trying not to rush it. It's a journey, but I'm walking it on my own terms now.